Hello everyone, this is Xiaoyu. Today I'm going to present to you how to model account in the ABS box. The model account, um, it consists of three parts. A, the balance, which represents the cash amount as of now. And B, it has a reserve type, which specifies the target balance of the account to describe how to calculate the target balance. C is interest bearing. It will describe how the reinvestment income should be calculated for this account. Okay, before we can dive into how the reserve balance can be calculated, we are going to go through a very simple waterfall payment sequence. Here, um, the waterfall payment start with a distribution account, and based on the waterfall rules, it will extract a certain amount of cash to pay expenses. Then, if there is any cash left, it will use that fund to pay a bond interest. If there is cash left after pay bond interest, it will be used to pay bond principal. So it's very simple waterfall payment sequence. So how this will interact with the reserve account? Reserve account will serve as a purpose of um, a buffer in case of in any step or a certain step of the payment. If there is a shortage in that step, then the waterfall will draw the shortfall cash from the reserve account and fulfilling the obligation of paying out expenses or bond interest. If in the future there's a sufficient fund to pay out the expenses, bond interest, and there's a cash remains before pay down to the bond principal, the cash will be redirected to fill up the reserve account until the targeted balance was met. So that's the how reserve account works. If there's a shortage in the certain step, the cash will be drawn out and to fulfill the shortfall. If there is extra cash remaining, the cash should be redirected back to the reserve account until the target balance was fulfilled. Okay. So let's go to an example. In here, it's a sample case for account. So I'm not going to go through all the details. Okay, so first, let's go through the waterfall because it's quite important. It's just directly uh, describe how the reserve account is interacting uh, during the waterfall payment sequence. The first is just scroll back enough. Okay. The first step of the waterfall is it will transfer reserve account to the distribution account with the excess reserve, which means if there's a cash in the reserve account which is above the reserve target balance, then the excess amount will be transferred to distribution account. The second step is, okay, pay expenses, pay fee with the cash from distribution account and pay to the fee with the name trust fee. if there's a shortage, then it will getting support from the account called reserve account. So when the waterfall step in here is trying to pay a trustee fee from the account 01, if there's not sufficient account or cash in the account 01, it will withdraw a certain shortfall amount from the reserve account. The third step follows the same rule. It will accrue and pay interest to A1 tranche with the cash from distribution account. If there's a shortage, it will withdraw the cash from the reserve account. Okay. The next step is conditional step. It's if else clause. The first element in this clause is a predicate. It suggests if A1 tranches is being paid off, and it's true, then the waterfall will pick the first list of the actions to execute. So in here, if A1 tranche is being paid off, then the waterfall will transfer all the cashes from the reserve account to the distribution account, because the reserve account is to ensure all the fee and interest is always sufficient to pay down the A1 tranches. If the A1 tranches is being paid off, so the reserve account does not need to exist anymore. So it's just need to just release every penny from the reserve account to the distribution account. But what if the A1 tranche is not being paid off? Then it will transfer the cash remaining in the distribution account to fill up the reserve account. By how much? By the gap, which means the difference between the target balance of the reserve account between the cash in the reserve account. That's what's called gap. Then it's quite simple. Pay principal to A1, pay principal to the B, and all the excess will flow to tranche B as yield or equity return. Okay, that's the waterfall. Okay, so let's set up accounts. In here, the account was set up with a tuple. It uses first element as account name, and the second element is a dictionary, which describes the three attributes for the account: the balance, the reserve type, and an interest. In here, we have set up two accounts, and for the reserve accounts, we have a dic, then describe, okay, before the cash flow projection, there's already have $100 in the reserve account, and for this reserve account, it has a fixed target balance with $100. Okay, let's start to project cash flow for it. Okay, see, in here, the first period, there's nothing collected from the pool, so there's a zero balance for the account 01. That's for the distribution account. So in the next payment period, let's see in here, this is the waterfall action. This is the cash flow statement for the distribution account. We can tell that nothing happened because there's zero at the beginning balance, So all the waterfall actions cannot proceed. Zero transaction amount happened. Here, transfer and pay fee, pay interest to A1, and fill up the target balance. Nothing happened. But we can tell that behind the scene, the reserve account is helping out. We can view the reserve account transaction here. Okay, it starts with $100 and it is paying out $30 for the trustee fee, and it's paying out $7 for the interest of tranche A1. Let's see. Okay, let's view the bond statement of the tranche A1 at date 26th of July. In here, we are able to tell that for this bond, it's getting the $7 as interest. If we view the fee statement, we are able to tell that at that day, the trustee fee is getting $30 payment. So that's how reserve account was being used in the draw statement or support statement, support clause. Okay, so far we are able to see how balance is decreasing. But when the reserve account is being filled up, we can tell that in here, in the October of the 2021, the September of 2021, the reserve account is being filled up with $40, and the final ending balance is 100 because this reserve account with the fixed target reserve balance. So after the target balance was met, no more extra money will be flow back to the reserve accounts. Okay, so after October, the reserve account will remain $100 as a balance. Let's see. Okay, at 2022 August, the A1 tranches is being paid off. The balance will go down to 0. So what happened is, in the next payment period, it's 20th of September, the reserve account will release all its cash to the distribution account. In here, if we view the transaction from distribution account, we are able to see that here he is getting $100 from the reserve account. Why this would happen? In here, because in the waterfall, we're just saying, okay, if A1 tranche is being paid off, transfer all the money from the reserve account to the distribution account. That is being fired or executed. That's why the reserve account is being released. Okay, so let's see the next step is a reserve account with a target balance, which described by a formula instead of a constant value like the $100 for the whole projection period. In here, we can specify with a tuple, start with a target as a string. Then the second element is a formula. We can, in here, this example suggests the target balance is a multiplication of another formula, which is ending balance of the pool and 2%, which means the engine will multiply pool balance with the 2%, then that value will be served as reserve target balance for this account. Let's start to project cash flow and to see how it will look like. In here, the reserve account start with $100, but it's way much higher than 2% of the pool balance. So it will release $56. Then it will release $4. Then it will be filled up with $3, and because of the pool balance is amortizing, then the reserve target balance is decreasing as well. So we can see that on each waterfall payment date, the balance of the reserve account is decreasing. Once the A1 tranche is being paid off, the reserve account will be totally released to zero. Okay. That's how we can model target balance with a formula. So user, you can in here visit the document website. It will introduce how to construct a formula with a lot of variable built-in, and you can composite these variables together with all the math algorithm. Like you can use a factor, max, mean, sum, average, subtract, and floor or cap, or just a user-defined value, etc. So, and all these values can be deeply nested. So it's quite flexible. I'll give you an example of how accounts can be set up with nested formula. In here, it's a nested formula, which first it will evaluate the max number of 1% of a pool balance with 1000 as a constant value. It will evaluate the higher value, then it will floor it with $100. So you can just combine them into a very complex structure. So it's like a formula in a spreadsheet, so it's flexible. Or the reserve target balance can be a binary tree. If a predicate or condition was being met, then the first item will be evaluated to be used as target balance, or the second item will be used to calculate the targeted reserve balance. So that's how user can model target reserve balance. Okay, so the third item is reinvestment. This is quite simple. User can just need to add interest into the dictionary with 3 fields in the map. A period, which will describe when the reinvestment interest is being deposited into this account. B, the rate, the annualized rate. C, the last settle days, means the last time the reinvestment income was deposited to this account. there are two types of uh, rates. A fixed rate. In here, that means the reinvestment rate remains constant during the lifetime of cash flow projection. Or user can describe a float rate, which user need to specify an index and a spread. Then the interest will be accrued based on the index rate and plus with a spread. In here, please make sure you need to supply with the index curve. In here, it's just 4% as a constant rate. So in this very example, the reserve account will be accrued interest with 6%, which is spread plus the index value. Okay, we can see here the interest will be deposited to the account at year end. Let's see if that's true. In here, we just visit the year end value. It's the last day of the December. That's the year end. We are able to tell that the balance has been changed by $1.49, and we can tell that it's in the memo it's bank interest. Okay, I think that's pretty much all for modeling an account in the ABS box. So I hope you are enjoying it, and happy hacking.